Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Miranda, and if this is your first video, welcome. I wanted to do a quick little May wrap-up and June TBR video today, so let's just jump right into it. So, since I have a full-time job, I don't usually get to read too much, so I didn't want to make a full video on just my May wrap-up. So I decided I would combine it with my June TBR. And I know I made a summer TBR already, so this has some of those books on it. But these are kind of the ones I'm prioritizing this month. So I read 4 books in May, which was a pretty good reading month for me. I mean, that's average like a book a week, and I feel like I have a little bit more free time coming up in June. I'm taking a, I think, 4-day trip to the beach where I'm probably going to be spending like a lot of the time reading because we're just going to be hanging out at the beach. Starting with the 4 books that I read in May, I had a pretty diverse month. The first book that I read was Mockingjay. I'd started this slightly in April and then I finished it the first week of May. It was good. I'd never actually read Mockingjay. I'd read Hunger Games and Catching Fire before, but I'd never picked up the 3rd book when it was first popular. And at some point I still need to read the new one because my whole point of reading these was to go through and watch the movies because I've never seen them. So at some point I need to get to the last one, but for now I've just read the main trilogy, and I don't know, I think I rated this like 3.5, 4 stars. Like, it was good, it was a good conclusion to the series, but I think I would have enjoyed it more if I would have read it when I was younger, when it first came out. I didn't immediately want to jump into the new book. I feel like I wanted to kind of step away from this world for a little bit. The next book that I read was The Housemaid by Frida McFadden, and I really did enjoy this book. I think I rated it 4.5 stars. I definitely didn't see the twists coming, and I really liked her writing, so much so that I bought a couple of her other books. I've heard kind of mixed reviews on what people think of her writing, but I don't know, for me, I did really enjoy this one. I liked that all the chapters were super short, so it kind of made me want to just keep on turning the pages and made me really excited to just get through the whole book. And there was never like a spot where I was like, I don't really want to pick it up, because I just kept wanting to figure out what was going to happen next. So the next book that I picked up was The Housemaid's Secret. I immediately wanted to jump into the next one because I just loved the writing of the first one, and I read both of these fairly quickly. I read them in like a week-ish each, and I definitely think I would rate this one like a 4.5. It wasn't quite a 5-star. I find it hard to find a perfect 5-star like psychological thriller book, and so I immediately wanted to pick up this one. I was a little bit worried that it was going to fall flat for me or that it would feel too similar to the first book, but I was pleasantly surprised because it wasn't at all what I was thinking, and I did go into it blind. Like, I didn't want to read the back or anything. I just knew I liked the first one and just kept going, and I was definitely surprised by the concept of this book, but I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, because it would spoil like both books. But I was worried that it was going to feel very similar of her still being like a housemaid and like learning the secrets of the family or whatever. I liked it, just not quite as much as the first one, but I am really excited. I think the 3rd book's coming out in July, or sometime this summer maybe, but I will definitely be picking up the 3rd one just because I like her writing and I like the concept of this series. But this one I think I would rate like 3.5 or 4 stars. The last book that I read in May, I technically finished it on the 1st of June, but I didn't have that much to finish then, so I'm still counting it in May. I think I read like the last 30 pages, and it actually was my first 5-star read of the year, which I didn't even notice until I was reading it and I was like, absolutely, it's a 5-star. And I kind of like looked back at the books that I'd read so far, and then I was like, wait a second, this was the first 5-star that I'd read this year, and that is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I bought this book when it initially, like almost right when it came out, and I don't know why I never read it. I think I enjoyed Beach Read. I didn't love People We Meet on Vacation, and then this was my third book that I've read by her. I haven't picked up Funny Story yet, or Book Lovers, but I was kind of like, well, I liked one, I didn't like one, and I was kind of hesitant about picking this one up, and especially when it got a ton of hype when it first came out, and I don't know, I don't like reading books when they're super hyped up, because I feel like I feel let down if I don't like them. But I absolutely loved this book. It definitely wasn't her normal, like, happy, beachy summer rom-com. It was very different than that, and I feel like there was definitely, like, it was a romance book, but there was a lot more to it. There was a lot of growth with all the characters, and it was just such a nice group of friends. It was almost more of like a found family with romance in it, rather than, like, prioritizing the romance. And I don't know, I've heard some people didn't really like this one, and I still don't think it's my favorite. I think Beach Read is still my favorite of her books, but this one definitely was way up there, and I think 100% deserves the 5-star, because I just related to Harriet so much. Like, she just, I don't know, she reminded me of myself. I don't know, it was just, I feel like when you're able to connect with a character on such a deep emotional level, it's hard for a book not to be 5 stars, because I don't know, there's just so many similarities. And yeah, this was about Harriet and Wynne, and they were college, they were in a relationship through all of college, they were in the same friend group, lived together, and they were engaged, and then life happened and they ended their engagement, but they didn't tell any of their friends because they didn't want it to affect the friend group, until they're supposed to go on a big, like, annual trip with the whole friend group, and they can't tell them, it's not the right time. It was going to be their last trip to this cottage that they've been going to for the last, like, 10 years, I think. And they were just like, we can't ruin this by, you know, telling them our bad news. The more I got into it and the more I learned about the character's history, the more I just loved it. And like I said, I know this book isn't for everyone, but I think if you can relate to the character, it definitely helps. But really, really liked this one, and I'm sad I didn't pick it up before now. On to my June TBR. I have just 5 books on it right now. We'll kind of see what I actually end up reading. But like I said, I'm going to be going to the beach, so I'm planning a lot of these books bringing with me. That I'll probably only read one that whole time, but I'll probably bring a couple with. But I've already started one of them, because as I'm filming this, it's June 4th, 5th, something like that. But I've already started Powerless by Lauren Roberts, and I feel like I'd heard about this book a ton, and now that I'm finally getting around to reading it, I didn't remember anything about what it was about. I wasn't planning on reading fantasy over summer, because it's not usually what I tend to gravitate towards, but with the new book coming out in July, I was like, I have to finish this before then. And after reading Happy Place, I was just in the mood for a fantasy book, so I figured now was the perfect time to pick this up. I don't know too much about what it's about yet, other than they live in a world where there was some plague, and it gave a bunch of people powers, and all these people have different types of powers. Some are more powerful than others, some have just like minor powers, but anyone who didn't have any powers was supposed to be like executed or kicked out of the kingdom. However, the main female character has been living a lie and she doesn't have any powers, but she's just been kind of making it work. And then the male main character is the prince of the kingdom, and they're supposed to be competing against each other in like these annual trials. I don't know, I feel like the main female character, Peyton, reminds me a lot of Selena from Throne of Glass. Selena was an assassin and Peyton is a thief just trying to like make their lives in a kingdom that they're, you know, just trying to survive. That is my only fantasy book that I'm planning on reading in June. Like I said, summer isn't really a fantasy month in my brain. I feel like it's more of a romance book, happy, fun, easygoing. So before I get into the romances, I just want to talk about one other book that I want to read, and that is Killer Instinct. So I actually started this last summer. I'd read The Naturals, the first book in the series, last year when we went to the beach, and it was just such a vibe at the beach. It was such an easy read that I thought I would bring back the same vibes and pick up the second one for my beach trip this year. And I don't know exactly what the second book's about, but the first one is kind of like a Criminal Minds for teenagers. It's about, I think there's 4 teenagers and they have like different, not like superpowers, but like abilities that help them and help the FBI to like find criminals. So the main character is like an expert profiler, just like in Criminal Minds. Like she can just kind of read people and like tell what like their personality. I don't know, it's just like Criminal Minds, but one of them can like tell when people are lying. One of them's really good with like statistics and numbers, and I forget what the last one was. They kind of like work with the FBI. They're not supposed to like be actively involved in the crimes, but like they go through all of the information that they've been presented. So the next one that I'm really excited to bring with me to the beach, and that's like the full reason why I purchased the book, is The Rule Book by Sarah Adams. I think I learned now that this is technically supposed to be like a second book, where they have like interconnected standalones. But this is about a girl and guy that dated in college, and then now she's supposed to be his sports agent and he is a football player, but they're both like kind of doing friendly revenge on each other. And I don't know, that's all I really know. I'm not sure if I'm gonna ruin, maybe it's the cheat sheet that this is connected with. I don't know. I doubt I'd ruin the book, but I'll let you know if I wish I would have read it. Then the 4th book that I'm planning on hopefully getting to in June is still one that I should have gotten to years and years ago and have just been putting off for so long, and that is Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. I have heard so many good things about this book, and so many people love it. This is a lot of people's favorite book of all time. And I've read a couple other things by Christina Lauren and really like their writing. So I don't know why I haven't gotten to this one. I think I've waited for summer to read it in summer, and then have picked up other books, and then I was like, oh, I'll just read it next summer, and just did that for years. What did I hear it's similar to? I think it's similar to like Every Summer After. I've heard people say like if you like The Summer I Turned Pretty that you'd probably like it, and I've read all those. And yeah, I need to get to this. I'm gonna take it with me to the beach and hopefully actually start it. I'm gonna tell myself I have to. Last book that I have on my TBR is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I read Every Summer After, and it was okay in my mind. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it. And then when I saw this one was being released, I wanted it because I liked her writing. And I don't know, there's just some decisions that the characters made in Every Summer After that I didn't love. And I think that's put me off of reading this one because I think I've heard people say that the characters make some questionable decisions in this book as well. I've heard people say that her newest release, This Summer Will Be Different, I've heard a lot of people have enjoyed that one. So I feel like I want to read this one to then hopefully get to the other one at some point. But I don't know. The only thing that's like making me hesitant is I feel like I'm going to be waiting for one of the characters to make a poor decision, because that's what happened in the first book, and I loved the first book up until that point, and then it was done. I don't remember what I ended up rating that one, probably like a 3-star, but I'm hoping that this one will be better. Alright, so these were the 4 books that I read in May. I should probably, let me try and see if I can figure out how many pages that was. So I read 1,427 pages in May. And I don't know, that was definitely a very successful reading month. I think it helped that I wasn't in classes during May, and they are starting back up now, but I don't know, I have high hopes that I could read probably about the same, especially with the beach trip in June. And I know that like a good third of what I'd read last month is all just Powerless. But I don't know, I think if I can read 4 of the 5 books on my TBR, I would be very happy. I'll go ahead and add it to my June TBR, the novella for Powerless. I think it's called Powerful. I don't own it, but I want to read that obviously before the new book comes out. So, but I don't think it should count as, I don't know how long it is, but it's a novella, so we'll leave it off the TBR for now. These are the 5 books on my June TBR. I have 1 fantasy, 1 YA mystery, and 3 romance books. And I don't know, I like to try to keep my TBRs very manageable because, I don't know, I don't want to feel like a chore to read. I would rather have like a few books that I'm really looking forward to, and then after that it's just mood reading, whatever I feel like. But if you guys liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'm planning on posting every week. I think it's going to be every Friday. Tentatively, not sure exactly, but yeah, if you guys liked it, subscribe, and if you have any videos that you want to see, just let me know in the comments below. I also make more regular content on my Instagram if you guys want to check that out, and I will see you guys next time.